I I think it's sad that in this day and age we're still having the same issues that we had back in the '60s. Um, but I don't know what needs to happen next to get them through this, because it's going to have to take a lot of work to change that, and have to change people's attitudes about where they once lived. One thing that is happening for part of that area is VA, people that work for VA.
Diversity coming through, but I'm not seeing, as far as in the actual neighborhoods where I grew up at, I haven't seen no real investment in that. I want to see something like that, like investing in the neighborhoods, in the kids, in the future. As far as that, I understand y'all building around, but I want to see that. I want to see some resources go into that too, because I can see y'all making all these beautiful things. Make this a part of that beautiful thing. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, it's almost like you're making all this stuff, but is it really for us? Who is it for? Yeah. I think her name is Sabria Ali. She said in the chat, this is the setup to keep the population down for failure. We have to unite and build. That's what she thought about it. And I agree. I definitely agree. Shoot. That's a big part of what's going on. And it's any other thoughts before we move on?
Peace. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll share real quick. Peace, family. My name is Jason Carter. I represent the East 66 Advisory Council, so it's pretty good to be on with you all tonight. What I would like to say is that was a real powerful presentation by my brother Kwame, and what we got to realize is that we are a war family. We've been at war, and we are a targeted people. The reason why these things happen is because we don't have very many good friends in this country. So I'm speaking on a historical context, and hope that you all know your history and know that most of us on this call are part of what we would call ADOS, or the descendants of the slaves, American slavery. And we are the children. We're a strong people. We don't get tired. We have to continue this war, keep fighting, continue to build, because there are so many traps, set along for us to fail from the community and everything like that. It was shocking that we just got a grocery store in this neighborhood, and it hadn't been a grocery store over here for 30 years. If the people don't eat right, things like that, that leads to bad health care. If you don't educate a place, that leads to, bad decision making, and we already know Black males, they out to get us. Mass incarceration was a thing that was over the top in the 90s, and it has not stopped, so I just wanted to share that and just, let everybody know, we got to start, just being war ready on a lot of topics, but build, take advantage of what we're doing. And this, the form-based code project, being able to speak up. A lot of neighborhoods across the country look just like Hough, but they won't get this opportunity to speak up. So I just want to keep that in everybody's mind.
Wow. That's well said too.
So I have a question. This is Miss Worley.
Hey, Miss Worley.
Hi, how you doing? So what is the difference from what is happening now? Such as, I think it's looking like a gentrification, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Facts.
The difference between gentrification and what's happening now, this is reinvestment. The difference between gentrification is that gentrification happens without community input. Gentrification happens above our heads. We wouldn't even know about what's going on if it was gentrification. But for example, with form-based codes, like its goal is to make sure that the community is involved, so that reinvestment doesn't turn into gentrification. And with the 66 project, with the Allen Estates, which are Black owned for the most part, all those things are making sure that we don't get gentrified. Also, dang, what was another thing I was thinking of? I just had a brain fart. But yeah, the chat. People have stuff in the chat right here. Ayana Paris said we have to work together to bring the community together, or it isn't going to work. Okay. or it isn't going to work. Everyone has to be on the same page for the same outcome. We have to develop a love for one another. This is Veronica Hardy, by the way. We have to develop a love for one another. We set the tone for how others treat us in our community. If we don't if we don't love and respect each other and take care of where we live, how can we expect anyone else to do so? All these things are well said, and all these things have been in the conversation. All the things that you guys are saying has been reiterated in the conversations that we're having with Midtown, that we're having with Bashir, that we're having with all these foundations that are working to rebuild our community. All the things that you guys are saying are definitely in there. Ooh, hold up.
Hold on 1 second. I don't mean to interrupt you. We have to go back to the large group. So I want to invite you all to hold your comments because they're all so important. But before we leave, I want to know, do we all feel like we have a pretty good grasp of what redlining is if we didn't before? Just you can nod your head or thumbs up or anything like that. That's a bet. Okay, so you're gonna rotate into the next group, and then we're gonna go ahead and have the conversation about zoning next. All right, so here we go.
Zay might be joining us.
Okay, I think that's the link to the video that you're gonna need, Lexi.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me see what I can do.
Advisory Council is that it is pretty much ran only by youth. So that's right. People between the age of 24 and 15. And I think the only person that's older than that is Daniel Gray Contar himself, which is over there. At least for me, he's over there.
Yeah, that's true.
So me or him will be the person to talk to for that.
Okay, I most definitely would like to get your information because I have worked in this community for a very long time, especially with the youth, and I'm just not finding out about that even a Hough Youth Advisory. So therefore, I most definitely know plenty of youth that lives in this community that I know will be part of this. I would love to be.
So much. That's beautiful. Thank you. We need that for real.
So welcome.
Yeah.
And we've actually only been active for like 3 months.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's perfect. Look.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So here is the second video. And we're going to go ahead and play that for you now. Let me make sure I can get it on my screen here. And this video is about zoning. So let me go ahead and get us situated. Thank you all so much for your patience and for being here and for your conversation and everything. All right, here we go.
Quality of life. So when you look at the image on the screen, you see that woman who's walking on that road? Who can tell me where you think she's at? What state, what region of the country?
I'm not gonna say nothing because I already know.
Okay. Who else? Take a guess.
Cleveland. Where is supposed to be Cleveland?
What is that?
Cleveland.
It's Cleveland.
Yeah.
Now, when I first took a look at this photograph, you would think she is somewhere in rural Alabama somewhere, okay? She is actually in Cleveland, Ohio. And she lives in a neighborhood that's in the Lower Kansas area, in an area that was formerly known as the Forgotten Triangle. And when you look at the other picture, what do you think that is?
Shaker?
The West Side.
West Side, gotta be.
It's also Cleveland. So here you have two very different set of circumstances, right? And it's visually evident. This is an example. This is an example of how opportunity is distributed. And everyone should have access to the opportunities that they need to lead a healthy life, right? But we know that these inequities exist. And part of the work that we have to do is account for that. So I'm going to show you through land use how we account for that as development and planning professionals. So here's a map. And
Come turn this light out.
this map shows is streets, roads, railroads, and notice that it's blank, right? Because this woman is starting with a blank slate, and we're trying to restore value to her life by utilizing our land.
What?
So I talked about neighborhoods,
Why you
right?
kick your bathroom?
In neighborhoods, in order to produce a healthy quality of life, have to have places to live. So we have to have adequate quality housing in neighborhoods of various types and price points that services the needs of the people who live there. So you have expensive homes, you have condos, you have public housing, you have single family homes like this. And then what we do is we start to identify areas in that neighborhood, as you can see on these maps, that show where those homes can go in that community. So you see single family and multifamily homes here represented by the colors on the map, the brown and the yellow. We also know that it's critical for people to have access to retail and business services. You gotta eat, right? You gotta shop, right? So we also have to understand where we can provide places to shop, whether small scale or large scale. So having retail is essential. Now this may seem basic, but the fact is it's not basic because everybody doesn't have access to these opportunities. So then you start to look at where can retail go? So you can see the red represents retail and the pink represents commercial services, right? So you add that to your housing and you also add that retail. Also, we have to provide places for people to work. So when we think about neighborhoods, we have to think about diverse places for people to be able to work, whether it's at a neighborhood institution or retail store, whether it's a larger scale institution in the neighborhood, but organizing the neighborhood in such a way where people can live, they can shop, and they could work, right? But in order to make those investments, you need land. The other components of building quality of life is learning and worship. So where are institutions located in the neighborhood and how do they service the people in that community to build quality of life, right? So our churches, our mosques, things of that nature, because that is very important for the social fabric of the community. So when you look at the green, you start to see the institutions being added to that map. Then of course there's playing, right? Recreational centers, actually bars and restaurants as well, also considered recreation to a degree, right? So where are those open space opportunities for families and kids and people to play? And also where are those entertainment venues? So part of the work that we have to do is begin to build back communities and neighborhoods in areas of the city where those opportunities were not afforded. So you can see how that map went from being blank to being filled up. And this illustrates the intentionality that has to occur from a planning perspective to provide those resources for people. And lastly, we want to make sure that these neighborhoods are sustainable, right? So even though we have all of those investments, there are amenities that kind of is the icing on the cake that makes the neighborhood stronger. And these are just a few that you see on the screen. You guys still with me? The other component is making sure that the neighborhoods are walkable, right? That people can walk from their house and in a 5-minute walking distance have access to those amenities. This is important because it has a number of implications. It's easier on the environment when you don't have to get in a car and turn a key to get to where you need to go on a day-to-day basis. It's healthier because you're able to walk. So all of those components goes into creating quality neighborhoods and creating opportunities for people. Now, how do you get there? So the planning department in the public sector is responsible for 4 sort of key areas. 1, engagement, understanding the community's needs. 2, planning, which is the process of doing the research and analysis to help communities envision their plans. Advocacy, where we have to advocate internally and externally to get and policies changed in order to support what will help a community become healthier and more sustainable. But most importantly, regulation. We have to police investments because investors, developers, and others are not going to do this on their own. You have to make sure that they do it. So this is where zoning comes into play. Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Couple examples I want to give you guys. So this aerial shows a very suburban sort of area where you have a plaza, right? And you also have these houses that are on roundabouts, you know, and then you have this huge sea of parking. That's a lot of parking. And what this type of facility does, is that it promotes people getting into their car, driving to it, doing business, and driving away. Right? So most people, when they bought homes in the suburbs, they wanted a nice, neat area with people who look like them in homes that look like theirs. And they thought that this was a good growth model. And really, this is what you got. What you have is a lot of commercial establishments on main corridors in a very car-centric environment. But let me ask you guys this. Would you prefer this, or would you prefer this? That's a question.
That second one looked real inviting.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah. This one?
I said the second. Yeah.
Look real.
This one right here?
Yeah. Come on, sit down. Talk to your home.
Mm-hmm. Yes, most people
This is walkable.
want this type of environment, right? Not this, right? Because in this environment, you're not interacting. You're isolated in your car. There's no socialization. You know, if you're walking down the street here, your chances of getting hit by a car are tremendous. Right? And it's bad on the environment. Not to mention, it's incredibly ugly with all of the signs. And it's all corporate chains, right? So you got McDonald's, Taco Bell, but here you have neighborhood level amenities, right? People can sit, they can walk, they can feel comfortable. And look how the buildings are organized, right? So in order to achieve that, we have to regulate it. Let me give you another example. So in the top screen here, if you're from Cleveland, you're probably familiar with these areas. This is Clark Avenue. Okay, up top, above the line. Below the line is Lorraine, okay? Now what I want you to focus on is the street of Clark Avenue, so you guys can see my little white arrow, right? What do you notice about Clark Avenue that's different from Lorraine Avenue?
More space.
That's a
more
question.
parking.
On Clark, everything. Well, I noticed on like Lorraine, the buildings are more together, and on Clark, they're more spaced out.
Yep. What else do you notice?
More parking, less street parking.
KFC, McDonald's. I noticed I don't know what that sign
You got
says.
a liquor beverage store on
shoot.
Clark. You
I
got
know
everything fast food.
Drive out, drive in, drive out.
That's right.
There's no.
What you're seeing
nothing.
there, you guys are right, spot on.
That's right.
On Clark, you see an environment that caters to the automobile. You see a lot of corporate chains, because corporate chains like it when you just drive through and go. They don't care about building community. They just want you to buy their product, right? But if you look at the bottom and you see Lorraine, to the young lady's point, buildings are close together, right on the sidewalk. So you can walk from place to place to place to place without ever having to really confront a car, unless you're getting in it because it's parked on the street. Now, what that is it shows a maturation from how things were in the early 70s, where things were more auto-centric. So you remember when they started building all the plazas in the neighborhood? You know, so everybody got a plaza and it had a sea of parking in front of it and then all the stores in a row. Well, we're moving away from that to contemporary urban to more traditional urban, where you see buildings on the street, a lot of glass on the storefronts, where you can walk, where you have balconies, where it feels more communal, right? These are the things that it takes to make sustainable neighborhoods. And you have to do that with an intent. Here's an illustration that kind of brings it home, right? So this is an intersection anywhere USA, okay? Everybody has a hood with check cashing places, big, huge streets. You see back here, the plaza is set back. So what we want to do, utilizing zoning, is create environments that create density, right? To the young lady's point, we want to build up instead of out. We want to make sure that infrastructure is there, trees, decorative crosswalks, things of that nature. And then that starts to attract investment. And when you start to create environments like that, it's better for everyone, for businesses, for people who live there. And it makes it also much safer, right?
All right. So that was that one. That one is more so about what we can do and how we can start to think about planning for our neighborhoods. And it sounds like you all some wheels started turning. We're running a little out of time, and we don't want to hold you past 7 o'clock. We know that you've had long days already. So I just have one quick question, and that is, did you all get a better sense of what zoning is based on that video? We get a strong
yes. Yes.
Yeah. And are we starting to get a sense of like the history and the legacy of redlining and disinvestment, and how we can really sort of empower ourselves by thinking about rezoning our neighborhood? Is that starting to come into our thinking?
Yes.
That's what's up. Okay, cool. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the large group, and we're going to wrap up, but we're going to ask a few questions in the large group, and then we will talk about where we're going to go from here now that we have this shared understanding. So let me let everybody know that we're wrapping up in 60 seconds.
Hough is special public art. Hough is special because
I hear somebody.
that way. And the second blanket,
I don't know what that is.
Go ahead.
It's the other room. It's bleeding over somehow.
Yeah, I don't have one. I'm not in your room. My room didn't do anything.
Oh, Miss Worley, for you to say that this was worth your time is everything. It's everything. Because I know how long you've been in the neighborhood, and I know what the neighborhood means to you. And I know all the things that you've seen, the things that have come and the things that have gone, the things that have been promised and the promises that were broken. So
Yes.
and all of you, for you to say right now that this was worth your time is everything to us. So thank you.
For real.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the large group. And yeah, let me see if I can do this. Okay. There we go.